Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the greatest player of all time. In the blue, the finisher. It's Serral, up against the 9-time Global StarCraft League champion. In the red, it's the man, the myth, the Maru. A best-of-5 Terran versus Zerg showdown on the new StarCraft 2 balance patch. And these two titans have dozens of championships, thousands of APM between them. But I'm only going to ask for 1 APM in my battle against the algorithm. Or maybe double it and subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? What? +1. 1,478 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. And while these two are still going, I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Than these early drones already bounced over to the side. The Queen costing 25 minerals more. The smallest big thing in the new patch. Allowing the Reaper maybe a little bit more free reign as Serral gets a third, well, he's angling for a third base very early. And is able to sneak it past the Reaper as Maru did not send the SCV out early to scout and potentially block bases here on Ultralove. The Queen comes down, will politely yet firmly ask the Reaper to leave. And that Reaper here to keep tabs, just seeing that third base already limits Serral's options. Sure, the hatchery might be 25 minerals less, but that doesn't open up a whole slew of new aggressive options, especially on a map that has a ramp to the natural base. Makes it very easy to defend against early ground-based aggression, which is really the only aggression Zerg has on the table. But Maru, well, for most of his life at this point, in fact, over half of his life, he's played professional StarCraft 2 now. And most of that time, he's done this exact build. We got 3 command centers, factory with a reactor, a starport on the way. He's actually getting a second gas on the low ground, interestingly, but it will be 2 gas in total, so likely a Cloaked Banshee follow-up. Serral gets in perfect timing with those Zerglings. Spotted the Hellions moving out with an Overlord, and already a pretty solid start. Killing any SCVs and dragging the Hellions back. 3-4 SCVs! Wow, that is uncharacteristic and altogether too much damage for what, 4 Zerglings? Well, I'll take that trade every day of the week, multiple times if possible. And now, not only that, but the Hellions had to come back. They're not keeping tabs on the creep. And Serral ground out a few more drones and is perfectly comfortable to build more lanes to follow that up. A Liberator on the way. It's not going to be Cloaked Banshee out of Maru. Instead, opting for the quickest and arguably cheapest option to still get some damage done. He did build a Viking to knock down some of the Overlords. Though not sure where that Viking ended up. Oh, actually going for the Overlords at the front. The Queen's trying to get close. Brenda bounce knocks out the Ovi. Bit of a supply block, but Serral's got more Ovies on the way. So, besides the Queen and hatchery cost changes, the Ultralisk is back to its Ultra size, though, and can push its way to the front line. Hydras and Ultras, both at their speed upgrade a bit slower, but the Hydra has a new lunge ability in the late game. The Ghost is 3 supply, up from 2, and Planetary Fortresses only have 2 armor instead of 3. So overall, most of the changes in the new patch affecting the late game, I don't think they really change the trajectory and the general meta of the matchup, which is mostly the Zerg weathering the early damage with a few little backstabs, like, say, 4 Zerglings killing a surprising amount of SCVs. And trying to get a solid, like, 70 drone economy in order to maybe strike back once you get to layer tech. Or ideally hive as quickly as possible. Layers on the way, +1 melee attack and Carapace will be the choice first. So Serral really leaning into the Zerglings. Liberator over the amazing looking red storm over here, as it finds a pretty nasty position to snipe off a couple drones. Meanwhile, Hellions just running right through past the Queens. A bit disrespectful there. But enough Queens coming together, coalescing to deal with it. The Viking was in the main base. The Queen asking it to leave. Almost kills it off. So far, Maru, he did end up losing the Liberators. Lost 1 Hellion. The rest are badly in need of repair. But behind it, plenty of production coming online. You've got barracks. Those are barracks 4 and 5. And putting him at the natural is kind of a wall-off as well. a marked difference from Clem to Maru in their sort of styles. As the top 2 Terrans in the world, but Maru a much more defensive style. More focused on building up the right army and hitting and timing, whereas Clem is always in your face and waving his medevacs around, forcing you, almost like a matador, to chase him down. And then, right as you get out of position, stabs you with everything else. Maru, a juggernaut. Okay, once he gets going in a certain direction, it's very difficult to stop him, but not as agile when it comes to the early multitasking defense, at least recently. I will say, though, both these players, Serral and Maru, pretty notorious for not playing in anything but major tournaments. I think Homestory Cup certainly qualifies as one. In fact, this is Maru's first appearance, I think, at Homestory Cup ever. After 26, I've gone to more Homestory Cups than Maru. I hope to continue that trend, but you know what? Let's make it a competition. But finally here, playing in that iconic matchup, though honestly, in the last couple of years, Serral has gotten the better of him a lot more often. In fact, I think it's like 18-5 or something in terms of games, and almost every series has gone to the finisher. But of course, Serral just finished up his obligatory military service in Finland, though he did have some special circumstances because he's effectively a professional sports player. And then recognized by it. Oh, Maru! I did mention the agility there, and, well, Serral's a 30 supply on Ling Bane. I need to stress how ridiculous that is. Lings and Banes, quite notorious for being low on supply. I mean, obviously 2 Zerglings per larva, and getting that much larva early. This is why a lot of the time Zerg players will opt for roaches, because you don't have that level of production early on. But Serral has managed to get to 85 drones. Does he have a hive done? No. It should be starting. Serral. Give it a second. Thank you. Hive's on the way. But everything coming together, and Maru doing his thing, keeping tabs on the creep as best he can, but really just focused on that 2-2 timing. He doesn't have a Ghost Academy on the way. He's adding 3 more racks, but I think he's angling towards a 4-base sort of parade push style to try to grind Serral down. And Serral's still pretty far off Hive. There's not a small chance it can work. At least make some progress, but there's 160 Zerglings on the field right now. That's not to mention the Banelings. 6 Dropper Lords. Operation Overlord in full swing. And the creep spread is already halfway across the map. So far, so good for Serral. He took down the rock tower and actually dropped another set of rocks, which are remarkably hard to take down when you only have melee units, especially just Zerglings. Widowmine zoning out. Maru hardening his shell here, making sure he's as locked down as possible. He's almost maxed out. So we're going to have this sort of tower defense Zerg that has such a marked difference from a Clem overall, but we'll see how it works out. The 2-2 upgrades for both sides. Serral going to be unloading into the main, but Maru intercepted first. I think he saw the Dropper Lords. They may have wandered into a scan or some vision, but meanwhile, over to the right flank, the Banelings rolling in. A single siege tank is nothing compared to this. And well, not wasting the Banelings on the planetary. The Dropper Lords unloaded most of the Zerglings, but Maru's actually supply blocked. Widowmine catches a bunch of Banes on the way out. He kills 14, I think every 110 Zerglings. 1 metric fuck ton of Zerglings in production right now. Oh my. Apologies for my French, but Clem isn't here to translate, so that is ridiculous. Serral remaxes immediately. He's got 7 hatcheries. We've got Vipers on the way, Adrenal Glands, Carapace. Serral has not been contained, and it shows. Maru is still maxed out with a similar bank, but the momentum. Serral can just keep rebuilding. Those mechanics are there. Clearly, he hasn't lost too many steps at all. God. 100-something Zerglings across the field. Adrenal glands on the way, very importantly. Zerglings coming in. I don't know if the Widow Mines can do enough to slow him down. At this stage, Maru's got more command centers on the way. He's building the Iron Bank, but the Zerg, interestingly, Serral, not even bothering with Ultras, going straight to Lurkers. Ultras are kind of a half measure. Blinding Clouds, though, are perfectly calculated. Banelings rolling in. The orbital itself is vulnerable. Goes down incidentally alongside 18 SCVs. More Widow Mines picked up and taken out. As Maru tries to strike back, he has a mixed bag of Widow Mine drop and a few bio units in the mix there, but overall, Serral has... the momentum has not stopped. His income now far outstripping Maru, a base or two ahead. He has 30 more workers. The army supply for Maru is still massive, but with 3 supply ghosts, this is the exact sort of scenario that the ghost nerf affects the most. As Maru is not leveraging his supply out on the map, really. Having more supply would be helpful, but it just means the maxed out army is weaker. And against this sort of wave defense, tower defense, well, in this case, he's the creeps in tower defense, which is remarkably appropriate. The ghosts fall back behind the Widow Mines. Another wave. Nidus on the way. Maru has managed to survive throughout all this. Serral's starting to bank, but he's not at that sort of almost unkillable bank that sometimes Zerg players will get to. He's only got 2k, 1.2. Though his entire army is only 1,300 gas right now, which is kind of crazy considering. He's got 25 Banelings and 2 Vipers, and that's the extent of it. My god. The Zerglings. Do it, Brendan! No, my what? No! Revenge! Here come the Banelings. Maru clearly looking the other way. Parasitic bomb on the medevacs. He splits off too many, and the damage is overwhelming. Maru gonna lose some ghosts. You can tell by their dramatic screams, much like average Terrans. But overall, Maru holds, but suffers some dramatic losses in that fight. Serral actually losing a lot more minerals, but he can certainly afford it. He's sitting on 8 or so bases. He's got 8 hatcheries. His entire half the map, and now he's working on Maru. If he can deny a 5th base from Maru, he can eventually just batter him into oblivion. Use the base that Maru is trying to expand to like an anvil, and then bring in the hammer. But the ghosts are still moving forward. Widow Mines as well. Missile attacks level 2 now completed for Serral. I believe he has all the lurker upgrades. He's working on the Hydras as well. Surrounds the ghost, tries to evacuate, but the Hydras are with the army, so they might not be able to get away freely. Maru unable to keep up with the level of production, and almost losing these medevacs full of ghosts. He's got 7, 8 of them, but Serral rolling in yet again, and the Banelings just crash into the planetary. He's going to snipe some Banes on the way out, but that's not going to be enough to turn it around. Despite all of this, though, Serral still has almost no minerals in the bank. He's looking for a huge lurker switch, but you want to kill the ghosts and then force out bio. That's what he's doing right now. He's trying to whittle down the good parts of the army, like build some more Widow Mines. All right? Build some more Marines. You're dealing with Hydraling Bane. And then, that's when he builds 15 Lurkers and throws the Nidus into the main. All right? Right when he's able to... The more ghosts he can get rid of, the more medevacs he can sweep from the sky with Parasitic Bomb, the easier it's going to get to land a knockout blow with Mass Lurker. But Maru's army supply is still... Serral, I don't know how much of the hatchery was damaged by the Vipers and how much by the Terrans, but this hatchery actually quite dangerous. There are 6 lurkers on the way. Nidus into the main. Maru looking completely the other direction. Wave of snipes come out, knock out the Overseer. Serral actually supply blocked because of that. More Banelings rolling in, interrupts the snipes, but the Nidus screams into the main, and the lurkers are done. They should be able to unload. He popped. Lurker is done. And, of course, the turrets are providing detection. I think he'll be okay on this one. Maru holding a single baneling. Oh my god, that guy on Reddit was right. One baneling. How is that better than one Zergling for scouting? I think Serral just pressed whatever was nearby. I don't think the baneling is supposed to be doing real damage. But if that baneling ends up interrupting like 6 ghost snipes, well then, maybe Serral is even higher than the 200 IQ that we're estimating him. Liberator sieging up multiple bases. And Serral losing track of him for a moment. He's going to lose queens and a lot of mining. And Maru is actually ahead in supply. Serral keeps knocking on the door, but Maru keeps coming up with an answer. Siege tanks in production now. Adding him into the... He's mixing him in instead of Widow Mines, which obviously much better against lurkers. Another... How is this hatchery not dead? Thank you. Oh, but the ghosts are surrounded. Maru looking the other way. Parasitic Bomb doing terrible, terrible damage to the medevacs. And Maru is swept from the field. He might get the hatchery, but he loses 30, 40 supply. Trying to move forward yet again. Does he have... He has drilling claws on those Widow Mines. Infestor is getting mixed into the composition, but the Bio Army just refuses to die. Another wave of banelings. Serral's actually... He has no bank. But the Hydra Dash might be able to snipe off. No, the medevacs boost away. But Maru getting a little lackadaisical with his micro. Serral taxing him across the map. Liberator sieging up, but Maru still struggling to put the supply on the board. Serral still maxed out. Maru's done a good job of limiting him, but not good enough. The lurkers will be cleaned up. Serral gonna swing again with the majority of his army over to the 6 o'clock position. As he expands to both corners, 3/4 of the way to the bingo strategy, and Nidus could solve the rest. Meanwhile, Serral crashes in at orbital ellipse immediately, realizing that's just simply not going to happen. And the income, well, Serral has had a significant advantage. 1 to 2,000 resources per minute. He's actually, oh my god, that baneling. He's lost 10,000 more overall, though he's actually lost less Vespine gas, which is incredible for a Zerg in this sort of scenario. I think the scan accidentally killed the baneling. More banelings rolling through. Move commanded to try to interrupt the ghosts. Doing a good job of it so far. A couple more ghosts die. And Maru just... He doesn't have the momentum. He agrees. GG. Serral is able to take game number 1. He... grinds him down into a Terran-flavored pulp. Salty. And that's the difference there, I think. You let a Zerg go, and more specifically Serral, and you're going to regret it. I'm not sure how much of that was Maru saying, well, guess what? I'm going to sit here and let Serral attack me for the next 10 minutes. It's just he never had the initiative. He never had the ability to move out from the very start. Like, that was about as bad of a start as you can get without it being a game-ending attack. He lost 5 SCVs to 4 Zerglings. That is unacceptable. Shh, no, you're beautiful. You didn't hear that. You were perfectly acceptable to me. You can murder as many Terrans as you want. I won't tell anyone. Or I'll brag about it. It really depends on who I'm talking to. Like and subscribe. Game 2, Whispers of Gold. Did we make the ladder experience joke yet today? Not yet, but Whispers of Gold, probably our most open and rushable map in the pool. Sounds weird, and I don't know if I like that terminology, but we're gonna stick with it for now because I couldn't come up with anything better. But Serral still showing, like, multiple times with triple-digit Zerglings in production. Both shows how willing he is to throw them into the fray and how capable he is of replacing them. And I keep coming back to the matches he's played this year against Clem. Maru, historically, and especially the last few years, has had, like it seems many Terran players, some wrist issues, where simply unable to play necessarily at the speed or the sort of style that he wants to. I don't know how much of that is at play here. He's still obviously a top-tier player. But I think those limitations contribute. Well, there's a reason why Clem is such a standout. But we do need to see either some sort of early creativity out of Maru, and I don't just mean proxy raxing Maru. Okay, you may have heard proxy rax. And while that might amuse me, I don't think that's going to work. But instead, maybe mech, maybe try the new old Cyclone. We're playing on the non-bugged version. For the 4 people who play ladder, and less now because of the bugged Cyclone, the tournaments are played on a fixed version. Modders were able to fix it within hours, which is why it's so incredibly frustrating and somewhat, well, I'll go with infuriating that Blizzard is unable to update their game to do so when people who are doing it for absolutely free can do it in literal hours and provide you exactly the guide on how to fix it. But I digress. And I'm distressed. What a mess. Anyways, next. 3 command centers from Maru. I'd like to see some Gumiho style. I don't know if we have any matches. I'm gonna have to check, but of Gumiho versus Serral, but some Hell Clone, Battle Mech, old school style. We've spent so long trying to make mech a thing that I think it's worth a shot as well. But I don't know how much Maru has practiced that particular style. Maru's pretty set in his ways, as I mentioned, for reasons that are somewhat out of his control, but still. I think it's Banshee time. The queens, stoically. Susan, I want to go first. No, I go first. That's what it says in the promotional material. All right, we're equals here, Brenda. But some of us are more equal than others. Like the Terrans and the balance count. Susan, you can't. We can't see that. All right. There's already enough angry comments as it is. Sorry. Triple bounce. Pops the queens out of the way after poking in. Viking again. The Viking to clear out the overlords early. Actually hiding the Viking though, which is a interesting choice. Faking cloak and hiding the Viking, but Serral should know. Huh. Interesting. Marine doesn't actually kill off the Overlord. I doubt he's going to make it to the pervert, but he's actually darting back around. Going to see. Wow. Serral's Overlord micro. Quite solid. Where did that Viking end up? Has 1 kill, killed off one of the Overlords in the middle of the map. And this is why, part of the reason why top tier Zergs will rarely send out more than 2 Overlords. Because even if you don't build a Viking, it's relatively easy to snipe them off early. What he's done, though, is mask the Liberator. Does Serral know? He's hedging his bets with these Spore Crawlers here. But I don't think he knows for... That is a lot of Hellions. That's a lot of Hellions. 10? 8. Alright, well... Close. If Serral was convinced this was a Liberator, he would have built the Spore, likely, where he just ended up. So, just hedging his bets in case it ends up being a Banshee. Even though he wasn't confident. You can't just kill queens, right? Yeah, it's much better to kill drones if possible. But the Zerglings! Maru! What have you done? The hubris! He kills 5 drones in total, but was it worth it? No. No. No, it was not. Losing 8 Hellions and a Reaper, as well as, well, the Liberator keeps doing what it does best, which is manipulating the terrain to try to find a spot where it can break an entire mineral line, but unfortunately he flies into the Spore Crawler, and fun fact, not for the Terrans, Spore Crawler does more damage now. As part of compensation for the Queen costing more, Spore Crawler does 20 damage a hit, instead of just 15, which also pretty helpful against the Liberator early. Part of the reason you don't see too many Liberators early. As opposed to the Banshee, which can pretty easily avoid the spores themselves. But Maru, not... Again, he's in a... It's a different spot than last game. Last game, he took a lot of damage directly. Now, he's just been stuffed by the early Zerglings and Queens and hasn't really been able to deal it out. The outcome is kind of similar, with Serral having solid map control and Maru relegated to moving around with his medevacs and Marines. And we'll see if he can make anything out of this, as Serral rushed Bane speed, which is kind of crazy. There's a siege tank on the high ground, but the Banelings still come in! That could have been even worse. 10 SCV is dead. Oh yeah, we got low gravity on this map, which I love. Actually embracing the whole space station vibe. Maru draw. Oh, the Zerglings are more than ready for that. Chomping at the bit. Chomping. Both. ¿Por qué no los dos? And deja vu. We've just been in this place before. Maru gonna be down on economy. Similar, actually a little ahead on upgrades, but Serral has the production, he has the creep spread, and he has the hatcheries. He's already going towards a 5th. He's already got a 5th base done, as well as a macro hatch in the main. The fact that he hasn't felt obligated to go Roaches and Ravager at all really shows how little pressure that Maru has been able to put on. The Roaches are your stopgap when you need something that isn't just Queens. Oh my. Manually detonates one of the Banelings. Oh. But through all the fire and fury, Serral has managed to survive. And Maru, Widowmine drop on the way, Drilling Claws as well. Widowmine drops are still an existential threat, especially with Drilling Claws. Not quite as devastating as they once were, but just a couple seconds is all it takes to wipe out an entire mineral line. Triple drop of Marines, try to buy some space, but look at the just march of the creep. It is... He's literally just... He's advancing forward like a musket line of creep. That's my commentary on that Widowmine drop. Please nominate me for like a... I don't know, what is it? Pulitzer Prize? For that scripting? I'll take the Peace Prize as well while we're at it. Just like the pieces of medevac that got blasted into oblivion by one of the Queens. As the vanguard of creep spread continues now over halfway across the map. There's 75 creep tumors. And they're metastasizing quickly. Maru gonna try to push it back, but it's just simply not going to happen here. Serral smacks down the front line, swings into the left. Good Sim City on those supply depots. Serral's got a hive done. He's got adrenal glands on the way. He's got another few dozen Zerglings in production. Maru does have 2-2 done. This is peak timing for Maru. This is as strong as he's going to get for the near future. He's got about a 30-second to 1-minute window to get as much damage done as possible, while he can still be very cost-effective. The Widowmines finding some decent hits. The Banelings are rolling past Serral, using a move command to absorb as much damage as possible. And Maru took an okay fight. That's not good enough. He needs more. He's going to come back in for another round, but Serral will be done with 2-2 upgrades as he expands over to the right flank. The Marines and Marauders with a couple mines underneath. Going to try to find some hits, but Serral dragging him into the Terran army, chewing apart the Marauders. Adrenal glands about to complete. There is no other late game here for Maru, just the upgrades. He forgot concussive shells. It's not too late, but certainly would have liked it earlier. The Dropper Lords are about to be loaded up again. Whoa, huge chunk of Lings gets taken out by that Widowmine, though. Serral, in this fight, losing 40 Lings to mostly just the mines, but another volley. But here, come the Vipers. Looking for the Parabomb. Splits it off. So always so good about shift queuing back the Vipers to make sure that they both go back and get more energy, and two, you know, don't die. It's very easy to let those Vipers do whatever it is you want them to do and then hang out for far too long, and the Marines just incidentally gun them down. The Dropper Lords are ready, and one of the Overlords who really wants to be a Dropper Lord, but the boy ain't right. So many Zerglings. Oh, Serral. Again, it's just Marines, Marauders, and Medivacs, and now the Hydras are here. He spots the Dropper Lords with his own Medivacs. Going to move into his own main to try to block it out, but Serral now has, what, 6, 7 bases. Maru's locked down on 4. 3-3 about to complete for Maru. And despite that, well, Serral's at 95 drones. We don't mind almost kills a Viper. Full energy Vipers over here, but that's still a lot of bio to contest. The brawl will continue. Hydra Lunge, about to complete. Help hunt down those Medivacs. Banelings rolling through, mostly on the creep, to the ends of the earth. Oh, the Marines able to hold their ground, but look at the supply. Parasitic bomb thinning out the Medivacs even further. Hydras lunge away. Banelings from the backside. Splits again. And Maru keeping up a solid fight, but Serral has so much production. He's still at 40 supply. The Marines and the Marauders are brawling it out, but the Medivacs in autumn colors right now. Burrowed Zerglings denying bases, takes out another Medivac, and there's half a Medivac between these three, as Maru tucks his Marines and Marauders inside and is in full retreat. And somehow Serral's Vipers always have energy. Not sure how that works, like reverse EMP. That's kind of what Consume is with extra effort, but are these changelings? Yes. Lurker range is on the way, and Serral's once again looking for that critical stab of Lurkers to make the difference. Interestingly, we didn't see Lurkers. They're like a timing attack for Serral. Despite the fact they're like a tier 3 late game tech, he uses them, at least he used them to just dictate the pace of the game for a couple minutes, and then he went straight back into the Hydraling Bane. You don't want to give the ghosts a good target. All right? That's how you end up getting into that war of attrition that Zerg struggles to win. EMP and Maru still with a lot of army supply. Viper knocked out of the sky by the ghosts. He's talking about good targets, but there's no avoiding Vipers. Without Vipers, your army just... the technical term is sucks. Much like many Zerg units. Until they're combined with all their upgrades. Adaptive Talons. Ooh. Baneling Mine spotted. Maru looking away. And this base just landed. Lunges the Hydras forward. Might be able to just take out the command center. Maru swinging over to the left flank. Unable to contest the right. Does he have a planetary at the 4th? He does. On the back line. He can fall back to that. And he may need to. Still not a single lurker out of Serral. And he's getting the Nidus. The clear timing is there. Splits a Bane. Deals with the Widowmines. The ghosts are joining the field. As Maru has survived. Despite Serral constantly taking these fights, Maru has managed to max out yet again. Of course, with ghosts at 3 supply. A little bit quicker to do so. Not necessarily a good thing. Serral wants to get rid of enough supply to make lurkers to put a Nidus in the main. How's he going to do it? We going to fight outright? He's got +3 attack upgrades, both flavors. Oh, Widowmine connects. That frees up some supply. Nidus in the main base. And just a bunch of Zerglings loaded up inside. Parasitic bomb at the Medivacs. Maru splits them off. Widowmine actually hits more Terran than Zerg. Double drop back into the main. It's just Zerglings. It could have been so much worse here. The Marines should be able to clean this up. In fact, this is easy pickings. But more units darting through. 76 more Zerglings in production for Serral. And there would be more if he wasn't limited by supply. Vikings on the way to try to deny some of the vision overlords and in general. But Maru has survived yet again. He's in a very tenuous position. It still seems like he has no way to effectively strike back. But Serral has not been able to break these bases. And it's starting to get less and less cost-effective as the ghost count grows, as the position is solidified. The changelings being sprinkled in. Serral still has a lot in the bank. And it's growing much more quickly than Maru's. So there's still a lot of leeway there, but EMP whipped out, banelings crashing in, decides to commit to killing the planetary fortress, and does so with ease. Rolling through, looking for more SCVs. Widowmine thinning out the banelings. Vikings trying to help out. Another 40 supply is wiped away, mostly because Serral mid-fight built 70, 90 more Zerglings. How many SCVs does it take to kill a +3 Carapace Zergling? More than 2 to do it before a scan runs out. Are you just building a planet? He doesn't even care. He's just giving up. Wow. That's kind of the state of the game for Maru. Can't even kill 1 Zergling and now has to deal with 100 more. As they crash in yet again. Lunges forward. 1, 2, 3, 4 Metavacs taken out. All the ghosts. 2 Gs, 2-0. Serral on match point. As Maru again. A very similar feel to the game. The details differed. But again, Maru unable to really get any momentum. And Serral eventually just smothers him. Well, yeah, that's the Serral I've been waiting on. It does not bode well for the best player out of Korea. We'll see as we go into Abyssal Reef. Welcome back yet again. I'll admit, not a huge fan of bringing back 5-6-year-old maps instead of choosing from the literally hundreds of maps that map makers have designed in the past. I'm sure there's some sort of... No, Maru. Okay. I thought he was going to do Proxy Rex, which would have made great clickbait, to be honest. But it's Serral versus Maru, and you've made it this far. So hopefully you agree that the clickbait was worth it. And to be honest, it's Serral versus Maru. I think that's clickbait enough. We'll probably just slap their faces up there. One of the... I mean, there's about half a dozen players in StarCraft 2 that are well known enough that you can slap their face on a thumbnail and have that speak for itself. And these two very much there. I mean, you're here now. So hopefully you've enjoyed. Like and subscribe. If you haven't yet, that'd be awesome. No, if you, I want to talk for a moment as it looks like, pool first. I can't do a meta conversation. All right, we'll see if this evens out. But pool first against, is it even a 2-barracks play? No. So if Maru does an SCV scout, this could be a very awkward start. Because Maru, not even walling off on the low ground. It takes longer to wall off here, because you want to cover both sides. If you just cover the obvious ramp, they can just go around. So Serral doesn't actually have, didn't have the gas early. So unable to exploit this. And he's not going to see it until the Overlord gets across. Not that I think Serral would just like do a spontaneous roach all-in, though that would be quite a divergence from his play so far. Maybe, it's Maru who's down 2-0. So Serral's like 50-50 on the proxy race. I think that's why he went pool first, is because Maru is so notorious for proxy raxing. But, okay, so despite the early openers, this is going to even out a bit. I'd like to talk about balance in comments and the balance in general. I'm not sure how we're going to reconcile it, but players are too good. That is my analysis. We're at the point where Clem, the #1 Terran, and Maru, the #2 Terran, at least by most metrics, Like, the gap between them. Just like Serral and even Dark. I'd say the gap is more sideways between Serral and Dark, but though Serral definitely ahead still. But it's like a parallel. Don't worry about it. I will say, as a Zerg playing the game, it is quite painful on the ladder. Not even because of like bugs like the Cyclone and stuff like that, but playing best of ones when it feels like every single one of your tools gets nerfed, mostly because of this nerd. But with Queens costing more and Hydras and Ultras being slow, like, it just feels like nickel and diming to the point where the ladder is a struggle. But the ladder is not tournaments. What are we watching? What is this, Maru? Why do you have 2 heli? Stop distracting me from my meta conversation. So, I don't think we're in dire straits, is what I'm saying. But I think, well, most of it's on Blizzard right now. And they're painful and almost, it feels almost intentional neglect of the game. Their inability to update bugs, map pools. I think part of the reason the Balance Council is in a weird spot is because even though we say things like we're going to monitor the situation closely, when every time we do a patch, there's half a dozen massive, potentially game-breaking bugs that only tournament mods fix for weeks. And the fact that patches are over 6 months apart. Like, if we were changing the map pool every 3 months and reliably getting a patch every 6, that'd be great. But doing a balance patch alongside an entire map pool change is just not ideal. With all that said, still, there's nothing better. So I really hope we can find, in the next year, both some new opportunities for StarCraft 2 and other sort of games. Honestly, of the new crop of RTS games, I'm really looking forward to Zero Space, partially because of the Galactic War aspect and all of that. You can find VODs on the second channel, by the way. Winter Gaming TV, that's where I play my own games. Of this one, you've heard of, StarCraft 2, and also others like Zero Space. So, if you want to check that out, and of course the live stream. But I do plan, until there's nothing left to commentate, and I'll be honest, with the replays and all that, it's been a little hard. I have real first world problems. Like, other people put on tournaments, and then I can't watch the replays of those tournaments because somebody at Blizzard screwed it up. It's not the tournament organizer's fault. And I'd love to put on my own, or at least hire Wardy to do so. That's more likely. And maybe some more info on that in the future if we get down to it. But for now, tournaments like Homestory Cup, Wardy, Cranky Ducklings does a great job, the Korean StarCraft 2 League. These are things, if you have any opportunity and means of motivation, it'd be awesome to support. A lot of them have Patreon, Match Arena, things you can do while the match. In order to support the matches directly. And Banshee gets away. But speaking of support, the Banshees keeping the Queens back, and Maru putting everything. Yes, there's a game going on. Did I miss anything? Well, Serral lost 6 drones to Banshee Hellion and an Overlord. Maru has lost 1 Marine, so we haven't missed too much in the way of action, besides our Zerg hero here getting poked and prodded. Maru has a that's quite an early siege tank as well, especially to be hanging out here. Maru with double medevac now down the center. Serral at 68 drones. Wow. He's all ready. It's just such a... I believe this series was played directly after Clem versus Serral, at least when they first played. So both players had the benefit of either watching or playing in that series. But Maru has not really attempted to replicate the style that Clem brought to the table. He's kind of stuck to his guns and his drugs and his cloaking devices. And so far, it hasn't gone amazing. But the thing is, if you give Serral his tools, and he's going Road Ravager this game, he's going to crush you. Clem learned that. He knows what to do. It's very hard to do so. Make no mistake. No matter what nerfs we put to Zerg, unless we, like, remove the queen from the game and make drones cost twice as much, Serral's probably still going to beat everyone outside of Clem. On a pretty regular basis. But Maru keeping tabs on things. He's building up. His 2-2 is very quick. Serral is rushing to lurkers this time around. This has been it hasn't been a no-rush 8-minute game, as obviously Maru's poked and prodded, but we're up to 156 versus 133 supply. Spore Crawler moving in. Maru taking a bit more down the bench. Get off my queen! You! Ah! We know you hate banshees, but oh my god. Give him a break. No! We will break them! Here and now! No. I... Let you work that one out on your own. Maru putting together his full push. 2-2 halfway done. Serral just started his. And, well, a double drop comes in, picks off another couple drones. Nickel and diamond Serral's economy. He's built all of it. This actually physically blocks drops from happening. And because he went roaches instead of Ling Bane, it isn't too hard to dislodge if he drops back there. Very interesting that Serral chose to build all his tech like that. But the triple bile knocks out a tank. This positioning in general, though, dealing with siege tanks. Where are the Vipers? Where are the Vipers? His hive has done no Vipers on the field. He's building a bunch of lurkers. No lurker range either. Maru may be able to take out this base and continue that through. He's going to double drop up to the high ground. The lurkers, even without range, still could contest it. But without Vipers, this positioning is absolutely nasty to dislodge. Those siege tanks, an arm and a leg away, he takes out the hatch. Ah, the social distancing here. Knocks out the fourth base. Serral's already expanded to the inner base. That has its own issues as well. Maru rotating around. And so far, pretty much uncontested. Without lurker range, don't do it. Don't do it, Maru. You're not. Nope. Doesn't matter if they have range or not. With anything but just lurkers, you're not going to make that. It's not going to work. He was beginning to believe, but he really shouldn't. Lurker range about to complete. Vipers gathering energy. I really appreciate how Serral is not sucking the life out of his hatchery, but instead going for the extractors, which I'm also a big fan of just throwing down a couple Evo chambers as battery packs, but... Is there a Ghost Academy? There is, but I don't believe any ghosts on the field yet. The tank count, 5 of them. No mech weapons. He just started the upgrades. Gets one tank. Lurker counter. And there's nothing here to defend. This could be just a handful of lurkers. Assume you can fit 3 lurkers in your hand, which, big hands, but... And now a lurker in between these bases, far enough apart that one scan won't be able to cover it. And this is the kind of thing that Serral, the surgical strike. Just 3 lurkers, and he drags the entire army back. It's gonna cost at least 2 scans, maybe 3. He's killed 9 SCVs. There's still another lurker. It might even kill some of the ghosts. He gets a ghost. Looking for another. The ghost is trying to dodge the lurker hits. He uses 3 scans, and he drags the entire army back. Maru was gaining some momentum. He was able to keep the pressure on because Serral committed to this admittedly less mobile unit composition. He's got Roach Hydra Lurker, which is just much slower than Ling Bane Viper. But now he's pushed Maru back to his side of the map, which means he can move forward. And it's Serral's turn to put the lurkers on the low ground here. But the split, the spread... Oh, I can't believe it's not butter. Knocks out the lurkers with relative ease. Adrenal glands on the way. 3-3 for Maru. He recovers from this. What he lost was initiative. He didn't lose too much of his economy or very many units, but he lost the chance to put Serral in his place before he gets the economy, before he gets all that hive tech. Now Serral's back to 5 bases. He's got money in the bank. He's got lurker lunge, or hydra lunge, lungers and lurkers. He's got a lurker drop on the way. And he's working on +3 attack and carapace for the hydras, roaches, and lurkers. As well as having now 6 bases, so... we will see if Maru can turn it around, but the trend is not looking good for him now. In fact, Serral banking up more than he has in any of the games, because this isn't the sort of composition where you're constantly throwing banelings into the fray. Even if you lose a lurker or 2 here or there, it doesn't add up nearly as quickly as banelings used in every single fight. So, now this is not the ideal. The lurkers, mostly going to be sniped out. The ghost dealt with. Meanwhile, in the main, double drop. Queens come back to defend. And regret that decision to some extent, but buying plenty of time. Wow, actually, well, almost all the queens. Serral is now getting Baneling speed. You're looking to switch into Hydroling Bane eventually. But Maru with a great drop, doing something very similar to what Serral did. Dragging the army back and retaking the initiative. Serral's creep spread is mediocre. His queen count is down to 0, which is not very many. Building 4 at a time. Lurker. 10 more lurkers in production. Parasitic Bomb will finally knock out the Medivacs, as he's left with precious little anti-air back at home. But Serral still with money in the bank. 1 Marauder finally going to be cleaned up. Changelings down the center. Hey, guys. Knocks him out. Not doing that mass changeling style. 11 drones ended up dying. Serral actually has more army supply now. As this army composition, he doesn't need as many drones to replace. He's really kind of turning that siege against the Terrans. He's got high ground vision with the Overseers, but you can't really deal with that because the lurkers underneath have enough range to take out the ghosts. 13 SCVs dead, but the Vipers eat a one of them takes a snipe. Down the center as well, Roach Ravager. The lurkers on either side, the pincer maneuver in every sense of the word. As the lurkers are just slicing through SCVs, Ravager's knocking things out, and Maru, he's trying to pick a fight, but he's already lost multiple. The lurkers eviscerating the army. The ghost count still pretty massive, but the lurkers are moving in, and Serral, well, more command centers forced to lift. Serral plays a much more, not lethargic, but it's a slower playstyle that revolves more around building the right composition rather than overrunning everything on the field. This time around, Serral just working his way across the map, keeping Maru at bay. And how many ghosts? His army's mostly ghosts, 12 ghosts. But Serral's still maxed out with money in the bank. I don't know where the does not look good for Maru here. He's building tanks, no liberators. He's relying on the ghosts, but I think you need liberators in order to help dislodge this many oh my. The lurkers. Just moving forward. Sieges up the Overseers. He's still got 3 Vipers. Parasitic Bomb throws it out. Knocks out the base again. The lurkers eviscerating any unit that comes down. Lunges to try to kill the command center, which is a bit optimistic. There's 7 siege tanks scattered throughout, but not enough of them brought to bear to really help out. And with the Vipers, he's in range of this planetary fortress. Maru cannot afford to lose anything else, and he can barely afford to repair. Trying to catch whatever he can on the way out with the snipes. A couple lurkers were left behind. Still going to do a lot of damage to the ghosts. In fact, getting a couple. And Serral oh. He's got the killing blow in production. He's had enough of the lurkers. Maru has tailored his entire composition to counter lurkers. Serral's not rebuilding them. He's switched into Hydraling Bane. Against siege tanks and marauders, this is the composition to just run them down and roll through. The Vipers in position, EMP dodges with 2, and of course we have the obligatory pause at a key moment of the game. Meanwhile, lurkers in the main. Maru scrambles back, but the Banelings crash in. Down goes another planetary. The lurkers in the main base. The ghosts do have cloak, so they don't want to waste too much energy if they don't have to. Serral continuing with the Niduses. And there's no light at the end of the tunnel here. Maru with nothing in the bank. He's not maxed out. He's unable to hold on to any bases. Serral with the greatest bank he's had in this entire series. He's got the right composition, and he's very happy to just sit back. Well, not really sit back, but slowly and surely just crush Maru underneath. Another planetary down. Maru now supply blocked. Nidus in the main. $15 goes, 6 tanks. There's still quite an army supply. In fact, Maru has more army supply. More army supply than Serral can technically even make. There's changelings. Maru's going all in. He's throwing it all on the field. And there is a small, yet realistic chance that it could be enough. If he gets all the way to the main, the Banelings roll through. The ghosts split back. The snipes line up and knock out a bunch of the Hydras. Another wave is built, but this hatchery will go down. Maru has whatever production's left as the lurkers work towards it. Maru continues forward. He won the first fight. The main base is being gutted. The reinforcements cut off. Another wave of Banelings in production. Serral even has a Spire as well to boot. Not that he needs it. But the tanks continue to march forward. The army supply is still in favor of Maru as he snipes each individual Baneling. He's going to be forced to fall back. There's still a couple siege tanks. Blinding Cloud, incredibly helpful here. EMP lands on the Vipers, and Maru may be able to take another fight. But for how long? And at what cost? The ghosts are trapped, surrounded, and killed as Serral 3, Maru 0. In the most decisive match thus far, Serral proves he still has what it takes to take on everyone who is not named Clem. And a crushing victory. Honestly, almost looked like he was in another league here. Though that's pretty consistent with Serral against Maru in the last couple years. Maru's defensive efficiency does not stand up to Serral's more balanced playstyle. And no, I'm not talking about any sort of council meetings. I'm talking about the mix of constant aggression and solid defense. It appears there's still just one who can keep the pressure on him. The king in the north, still competitive and still the best Zerg in the world. And Maru may have to switch it up yet again. Well, still a educational and I think entertaining series, even if a clear advantage to Serral throughout. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you continue to enjoy in the future. Hope I made your day a little bit better. If you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership, and make sure to check out those community tournaments, especially Take TV and Homestory Cup as well. But thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.